Good morning.
Good morning. Today is May 29th, 2022, and tomorrow is Memorial Day. And so our talk today is moving from fear to faith. And I'm going to start with a reading from Ernest Holmes that speaks to moving from fear to faith. And the Bible quote is from Psalm 91:2. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. At the center of my being is peace. That peace that is felt in the coolness of early evening, after workers have turned from their labor, and the first star shines in the soft light of a translucent sky. There is a freshness, a vitality, a power underlying this peace. It broods over the earth quietly, tenderly, as a mother watches over her sleeping baby. In this peace that holds me so gently, I feel strength and protection from all fear, all anxieties. It is the peace of God, and underneath it all, I feel the love of the Holy Presence. As I become more conscious of this love, all lack, all fear, all that is false, slips away as mists fade in the morning sunshine. I am one with deep and abiding peace. I know that all is well. I know that as I permit this peace to flow through my being, through my mind and heart, every problem is released. The way is made clear before me, and it is filled with joy and harmony. I am peace. I am love. I am power. I am vitality and strength and all good. Where I am, there is peace.
Well said. Speaking of, because we're talking about going from fear to faith, that would be a powerful, or is a powerful device to use or a tool to use for the transition from fear to faith.
Yes.
That's why I chose it. Yeah, I didn't know that. What was I thinking? Well, I wanted to emphasize it, and other people who haven't chosen it yet could also choose it and could read that and use that as a transition piece. And the hardest part of that is that when you're in fear and you see something like this, you don't want to read it because you're busy holding on to the fear. And you don't mean to be holding on to the fear, but we hold on to it tightly, thinking that if we let it go, it will be done in by it. And we need to let it go enough to be able to read something like that. And the other piece is that you read that more slowly than normally you would read something, and that gives you time to breathe into it and to live into it. And so the spoken word can speak to you if you'll allow it to.
And I want to tell you where you can find that.
Oh, yeah.
I got it from Ernest Holmes 365, and it's for the day of May 31st.
So we shouldn't actually have read it today then.
Well, I find one that is fitting to our topic because it's close to the day.
You broke the rules.
So moving from fear to faith is such a relief when we can do it. Mm-hmm. And we can always do it, but we forget that we can do it because fear is such a gripping experience that when we're in it, it's hard to realize we can let go of it and find our way to faith in good and faith in healing and faith in love and faith in God.
That's when it's really, really important to have a practitioner, to have somebody else who has faith that isn't being shaken by fear, that you can go to and say, would you be willing to intercede for me? Would you be willing to speak to my heart because I'm not able to open my heart enough to speak to it myself?
No for me.
Yeah, because when we can do that and just to read that, if it were me and I were in the hospital with somebody, I would say, let's read this together. Mm-hmm. And to hear them have their own voice registering this. But I think when we're scared, sometimes the only thing we can do is to find someone else who's not scared, who maybe has already traveled some of the journey we're traveling, or somebody who understands it, and be able to have them be able to be there for us. I'm trying to remember now the story that you remember, I'm sure, the practitioner who came to the bedside of a young girl who was
Yeah, that was Mary Menon Morrissey.
Mary Menon Morrissey. That's who it was. Yeah. And she was going to lose a kidney, I guess, or possibly both kidneys.
Mary was the patient,
Yeah.
and she was going to lose at least one kidney. So she was
Right.
really facing death as a teenager.
Yeah. What I loved about that story is that the practitioner came in and said, do you remember what she said?
Yeah, she said, could you accept that when you wake up in the morning, this kidney will be whole and well? She says, no, I can't believe that. And then she said,
This is the part.
then borrow my belief.
That is powerful.
It is powerful.
That's really powerful. Borrow from someone else who's been there. Borrow from somebody who stands next to you who says you can do this. It's okay.
Yeah, and she did survive. It was actually a possibility that she would die as a teenager, and she's gone on to become one of the most successful and well-known teachers and leaders in New Thought. Excuse me for bouncing around.
Yeah, she's trying to be bigger than me.
But I wanted to say we have this background because tomorrow's Memorial Day, and of course that fits our topic also with the fear, fear of dying in battle. And of course, many of our brave soldiers do, in fact, do that. And this week has been particularly poignant because we've had another mass shooting of young children in school.
Yes,
at Uvalde, Texas, losing 19 children and 2 teachers in the fourth, I guess third and fourth grades.
Our brave children were willing to sacrifice their lives so we could continue to have guns.
AR-15 specifically.
Yeah, I don't think it gets more tragic than that. But
it is tragic. It is tragic. It is tragic and
preventable.
It's more grief that we're feeling than fear, but our children and their parents are actually feeling fear of what happens next, what happens to their children. If schools are not safe, what's safe? And of course, we also recently had a mass shooting in the grocery store in Buffalo. So this is just starting to be normal in our country, unfortunately. I think I read that there are like 5 mass shootings in schools a week in our country. It's just something horrible. So obviously we want to go from fear to faith that we can find a solution, faith that our children are safe. And we also want to know that our legislatures, we have the faith that they will do the right thing to change this unacceptable condition. I don't want to get into politics, but it's
hard to avoid that this is happening. I mean, it's happening.
Immoral to sit around and say, this is just the way things are, because we're the only country in the world where things are this way. And we're the only country in the world where 18-year-olds can buy AR-15s, and all of the mass shootings in schools that have occurred with that particular weapon, which is a weapon of war, and it's not a weapon for.
So the question in my mind is, how many ways can we make peace with each other and with the country that we're in and with our families? Because one of the things that I'm seeing when I look at these very conditions is there is already a war waging within the child, with the family, and with other people that's been waged for quite a long time that hasn't been addressed. And when I say that, I mean that there's a lack of kindness, there's a lack of love, there's a lack of being able to experience it. And then what we see is the dreadful outcome. But I think at the very core of this, when we change fear to love, when we change fear to faith, we're able to change the energy around us and the energy of the people that we're with. And I see it all the time. I see it where I work, I'm working with a lot of mentally unhealthy people. And what I discovered, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about mental health, but what I've discovered where I work is that it appears that the person who's having the problem is the patient. But what I see is that very often the problem is the way that person is being treated. And the way they're being treated agitates and upsets, and they have some few skills that they act out. And we're always going to jump on the person who acts out, but we need to take a look at ourselves and say, what am I doing to create the condition in which the only thing that seems to be left for some people is to act out in some horrible way? And I'm not blaming us, and I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying we need to be, if we can, more accountable for how we treat each other.
Well, I agree with that. And, this young 18-year-old was bullied, and that seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
But
That doesn't make it
kids are
okay.
bullied all over the world, and
Yeah.
they just can't get AR-15s,
Right.
know. So, but what we want to do is move from fear to faith and know that God is in this picture, God is in this situation, and that we know there is a solution and there is wholeness. I had an opportunity this week. I was grappling with a personal situation that with a family member that was very painful for me, and I woke up in the middle of the night working on acceptance of what is, and heard myself talking to whomever, God, and I said, I'm working on accepting what is. And I heard, well, what about using your divine will?
Go figure.
Oh, yeah. and so then I started praying, accepting, and visualizing what I wanted to see happen instead of what I was afraid was happening. And it not only gave me peace, it gave me faith, it gave me peace, it let me relax and go back to sleep. And in fact, we were anticipating results of some tests, and the results were good. We all just heaved a huge sigh. But it was a reminder to me that my job is to see the situation healed and whole, and know that when God, all things are possible. That's the faith. And when I do that, I feel that, I feel the relief, I feel the peace. And we can all do that. And we have to suspend our logical mind that says, yeah, but the most likely outcome is going to be this, or it looks like this is what's happening. We just have to visualize the best and know that the best is always happening, whether we like it or not. It's always happening. And so there is faith in that also.
If there's power in prayer, and I know there is, when thousands of people get together and pray at one particular moment for peace, and then what we look at the stats for the city or the community that they're praying in, and the level of violence has gone down, then we know that the thoughts that you hold change the energy in the field of energy around you and create the conditions. So what if, when somebody tells you that they're sick, all of their friends now invest in the belief of sickness? And so the more they invest energy in that and see a negative outcome, that's kind of prayer also.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of prayer we want. So I think we have to be willing to accept that miracles happen. What I do when I know that anybody that I know is sick or having a difficult time with that, what's up? What I would say is, no matter what the disease, no matter what the condition, somebody's had that disease or that condition and not died from it. And if it can happen once, it can happen again. So I have to suspend all of the information that I have and all the knowledge that I have about a particular thing that would have me go down the road of ending, and say, there's still things we don't know. We call it a miracle. A miracle is really something that happens that's reasonable and makes perfect sense if only we knew more, if we understood the mechanism. But miracles happen all the time.
Most of us at our age will be experiencing from time to time some fear of diseases and perhaps body parts that aren't working like they used to. And so we need to also use this divine will, meaning we were given will. We were given will to focus on what we wanted to experience and create in our lives. And it's God in us. And so we need to use that divine will also for knowing ourselves well and whole, and building, not unbuilding, our bodies. And that's also going from fear to faith, because it is fear invoking when your body's not working like it used to, or things are changing, to know that all is well at all ages with us. I wanted to get back to this, a story that I heard of a woman who lost her child, her 8-year-old child, not in a school shooting or anything like that. And it doesn't say how she lost him, but I love her adaptation to the loss of her son. Here's the story. When Jenna Fornell's 8-year-old son, Ollie, died in 2019, she turned to gardening in her grief. Now she feeds her entire community. Every Saturday, she sets up a table in her Alexandria, Virginia front yard filled with produce from her garden, as well as homemade breads and muffins, and offers it free to everyone. She says it keeps Ollie's spirit of loving kindness alive. One neighbor called it a beautiful bounty of generosity.
I love it. You know, and we're moving, in that case, she's moving from missing to giving. Missing and the longing. It's hard to keep us both on the screen.
Still, yeah.
But the missing, the loss, and what I've noticed is that when we're dealing with loss, we're dealing with a sense of emptiness, we're dealing with a sense of pain, we're dealing with hurt, and if we're not careful, that will continue to grow and build, and we'll even be surrounded by that. But what she did was she said, "I'm going to give." When she went from taking to giving, she was being given to. And this is a difficult transition, but when we go from I need to I give, I will get what my needs are often through the giving. And it's a difficult one to make, and I'm dealing with people all the time I'm too afraid to be able to give anything. I'm too afraid to be able to risk doing anything. And as soon as they do something in favor of another person or in favor of life, they start being fed favorably.
And so she was giving love and she was receiving love,
yes,
from her whole community. And what a nice way to move from fear to faith.
Yeah. So, you know, we receive when we give. We don't give to get, but we get when we give. Mm-hmm. And we get what we give.
You know, another thing I wanted to address, and this is a little esoteric, but I was advised years ago, 25, 30 years ago, that the energies of our planet as we move through the orbit that we're moving through, that the energies would be speeding up. And I believe, in fact, that's happening. And we were warned that this would create some chaos in a lot of people, particularly young people, that there would be more suicides, more murders, and that is happening. And that we needed to be secure in our own peace and allow these vibrations to go through us, you know, to not resist, to not fight, because our vibrations are also speeding up. So I'm sharing this just because it's so easy to get into ain't it awful with what's going on in the world, and knowing that this too is a process of evolution, right action, that we're evolving into higher realms of being, and that we want to be here to assist in that process. And we do that by not resisting. Mm-hmm. We do that by not fighting, by staying in peace and calm and trust of God, and staying in our faith and knowing that all is well, no matter how it appears in the world. All is well, just exactly as it is.
And you may have to say that 1,000 times a day. And if you're saying that 1,000 times a day, then you're not saying life is awful, life is terrible, and what's wrong with it. And mm-hmm. One of the things that I discovered a long time ago is that what we call silence is usually not silence. In the background, there's almost always some kind of noise. And the noise often sounds like it's a quiet conversation in favor of whatever the thinking is behind it. And when we change the thinking, we change the conversation. When we change the conversation, we change the energy. And so you're really talking about holding the high watch. I've referred to that. I like that. Holding the high watch, seeing the bigger picture, looking for more than where it hurts, but looking at the outcome. I remember working in the emergency room one time, and when we came in with a very serious laceration on her right arm, and she was screaming and hollering, and she wouldn't let anybody take care of it because she was so terrified of the wound. And so, because I was covering mental health, they said, "Would you go in and talk to her?" And I said, "What am I going to do?" They said, "I don't know, but go talk to her, see if you can calm her down." I went in, and I don't know why I did it, but I said, "Can I see your other arm?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Can I see the other arm?" And she said, "Yeah." And I had a white jacket on, so she would talk to me. So I looked at the other arm and she said, what are you looking for? I said, well, I want to see what the arm that you have hurt is going to look like once it heals. And she laughed and she said, who are you? I said, I cover psych. She said, okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, she calmed down and we were able to stitch up the arm. But I think even in the most crisis situation, can you look at what isn't hurt? Can you look at the part of you that's whole, as opposed to just the part that is hurt, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever else?
We have the most beautiful song to share with you in a moment. It's a new song written by Felicia Rose and sung by her.
I wonder if we can play it on the
And
air.
it's well, it's
yeah,
copyrighted.
yes, right. Okay.
And you can find it on YouTube. And it is really beautiful. And I invite you just to, it's about 5 minutes long. So just enjoy it as the time goes on. So we're going to close now. And I just want to remind you that we always can switch. Sometimes it feels like we can't. We're so afraid, but we can if we visualize what it is we want to experience instead, because the feelings follow the thoughts. If you get your thoughts on wellness and wholeness and beauty and God and good, then the feelings follow. So just remember, it's a wonderful shift to be able to make. So let's close with a prayer right now. And let's know that faith is a gift and that we always can shift from fear to faith. We know that love is letting go of fear. And so we choose to do that. We choose to be in the love of God. And we choose to know that despite all appearances, truly all is well.
And we know this to be true. And we are delighted that we're able to unwrap this gift and find that it continually gives to us. And in its constant giving, we are bathed in love and kindness and joy. And for this, we say thank you. And together we say, and so it is. And for those of you that are following us, you're going to want to know that you can support us, and we do really appreciate it. And you can support us by going to our website, and you're going to bring that up. Or
I am. I'm going to stop the record. Oh, don't.
No.
Okay. All right. Let's
Right.
share the screen of our website, which is cslpalmbeaches.org, and show you that when you go to that site, there are
ways to donate
button, and you can click that, and it will open this up and show you ways to.
Yeah. So for us to continue to do this, we need your continued support. I mean, I sound a little bit like PBS, but it's true. Without your support, we can't do this. And so please, if you've been thinking about supporting us and think maybe I'll do it later or when things are better for me or whatever, I understand that, and we do the same thing. And just like we support our PBS station because we like turning the radio on and having it there, we would like your support so that when you turn us on Sunday morning, we can be there for you. So let's know this together.
And let's read the affirmation. This is a prosperity affirmation for each of us, that when you give to support any area that inspires you, it's an investment in your own prosperity. My investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So we're going to end the recording shortly. Stop sharing. Okay, and now end the recording.